Well, we're still very much in January, which means one thing for football fans, and that's the transfer window. Now, usually you're treated on here to transfer rumour videos, lots of them, because it seems like you guys love that kind of stuff. But for Norwich City, it's been an incredibly quiet 16 days of the transfer window so far. Not much in terms of rumours for outgoings. Literally nothing in terms of incomings. Today, though, it's picked up a little bit. And I think, I've said multiple times here on TNC that a successful transfer window for Norwich City almost is keeping hold of our star talent. And by that, I mean two players in particular in Johnny Rowe and Gabriel Sara. And so far, so good when it comes to that. Very little in terms of rumours surrounding Sara. A few more regarding Jonathan Rowe. And another team has been added to the list of those that want hold of Johnny Rowe by the end of this January. Brentford, Premier League Brentford are those interested in Johnny Rowe. The latest side linked with him, Sky Sports, the link here, have claimed that the Bees are considering 20-year-old Johnny Rowe as they look to sign a left-sided attacker with prime target Asani Diao, unlikely to leave Real Betis in the summer. And I think most people, when we were watching that whole game on Friday evening, of course, initial reaction after him scoring that wonder goal is brilliant, what a talent. Enjoy the moment. Second thought is, oh my goodness, live on television, not much else on in regards to sport Friday night. So a lot of people have been tuned into the game. If you're a Premier League club watching that, you're going, we need to look at this guy in more detail because he's clearly the real deal. And that's obviously what's happened to Brentford. Now, I think there's going to be a lot of this from now until the end of the January transfer window, and 90% of these will be false. But Norwich do have a huge task on their hands to keep hold of Johnny Rowe, and it will be incredibly difficult for them to turn down large sums of money with the financial situation that we're in, with the fact that we're probably going to be playing Championship football next season, and you would have thought, based on kind of historical trends, transfer fees in January are often higher than the summer, with teams kind of scrambling about to find talent. So you do get a sense that if a Premier League team were to come in for Johnny Rowe and offer upwards of £25 million, Norwich are probably going to say yes. And that pains me to say it because, there's not too much joy in this season, but one of those joys is getting to watch Johnny Rowe week in, week out. Now, I'm sure there's going to be more teams linked. I can't imagine Brentford are going to be the last of it. I'm relatively hopeful that we keep hold of him. I think it's another discussion entirely whether we keep hold of them in the summer. If we're in the Championship, I'd say the likelihood of keeping him and Sara and Gunn and Sargent is bordering on 0%. But for this January at least, I'm relatively confident that we can keep hold of him. I think if you're Johnny Rowe as well, you have to look at this. Obviously, if he were to go to the Premier League, his wage probably quadruples. His stock goes up. But he's got time. He's still so incredibly young. He's still, in the grand scheme of things, not played too much football. You've only got to look at, Andrew Bamadelli. I'm sure he's still going to have a fantastic career, but moves to Nottingham Forest, hasn't played a minute for them since he's moved, and he's probably now looking around going, like, where do I even play football? Like, can I get another Premier League move, or am I going to have to dip back into the Championship? So I think Rowe's got good people around him. I'm hopeful that he's incredibly mature. And if you are Norwich City, then please hold out for an incredibly high sum because this guy is the real deal. That's pessimistic. And let's move on to another pessimistic bit of transfer news, and that's regarding incomings. Now, there was an article published on the Pink 'Un by Paddy Davitt on the 7th of December 2023, and the opening line was, David Wagner likes Ben Napper's exciting January transfer window strategy for Norwich City. Well, fast forward to the modern day, and David Wagner's admitted that it's very slow. Not much is happening in terms of incomings for Norwich City. And I must say, I did expect this to be the case, and I'm struggling to get too angry about it, as I'm sure that will anger literally people, because I'm not angry about this. But Norwich have a fairly big squad as it is. I think Knapp has spoken a couple of times about trying to bring down the age profile of this side, and that feels like a longer term plan as opposed to one that happens in a January transfer window. Plenty out there will be screaming at the camera, going, at the screen, going, Jack, we have to strengthen in January. We're without a central defensive midfielder. The centre back partnership, we're still playing Kenny McLean there. I think my argument would be, and there was a brilliant tweet put far more eloquently than I ever could by TalkNorwichCity on Twitter, and it read, Norwich need a big transition in the summer. Unless there's an exceptional player available now, it makes little sense to chase them. Get to the summer, remove Wagner and rebuild the squad with a new head coach. Any money spent on loan fees and wages for players to get Norwich from 12th to 10th is a complete waste. Norwich not being active is a pretty clear sign that they don't see much of a future with David Wagner. I think that last point is bang on, is spot on. I've said it on Twitter multiple times. I don't think Ben Napper thinks that the future lies with David Wagner. I think David Wagner knows that his future doesn't lie with Norwich City, and I'm starting to get the sense that the players don't see a future with David Wagner, but we're stuck in this middle ground where we don't really know who the replacement could be. I'm sure Napper's got a short list, and maybe the number one target on there isn't yet available. And we're in this position where we're a couple of points off the playoffs, but the run of form to kind of get to that point feels fairly unsustainable if you kind of extrapolate those performances across a slightly larger sample size with tougher fixtures on the horizon. So we're very much stuck in no man's land here. And I agree. I think it would be silly unless an exceptional player shows up to go and splash cash in January. I don't think the squad, now that we've got everyone back, is too much of a problem. You've got Josh Sargent, I think is one of the best strikers in the league. You've got Angus Gunn, I think is one of the best goalkeepers in the league. You've got Johnny Rowe, one of the best wingers in the league. You've got Borja Sainz, who's brilliant. You've got Sarah, who's putting up incredible numbers. Like, in every position, you've got a player where you go, yeah, they're probably league leaders in terms of their attributes. And that's the frustration. I don't think that the issue necessarily is with the squad. I think the issue is with the head coach. So the ideal January transfer window for me is finding a new head coach. I don't think that will happen. But if we weren't to sign players in January, I don't think I'd be too upset, as long as we keep hold of the aforementioned Johnny Rowe, Gabby Sarah, etc., etc. And then I guess you do have an opportunity in the summer to rebuild. Again, it's that mindset that I really don't like, of almost feel like you're throwing everything away this season and just looking to next season, in a year where parachute payments will be going down, in a year where your best players will be leaving. You're very much starting from scratch, and that feels incredibly risky when there's still opportunity to do something this season. Of course, finally, Norwich City travelled to Bristol Rovers for the FA Cup third round replay on Wednesday night. It's been confirmed that Josh Sargent won't feature in that. He's been rested. Very much conflicting kind of thoughts from me on this one. I'm not overly fussed with the thought of a trip to Anfield midday on a Sunday if we were to beat Bristol Rovers. I guess a bit of extra revenue in the kitty and an opportunity for David Wagner to link up with his old pal. But the thought of going there, a stadium where we've been battered so many times, isn't exactly exciting me too much. I think Bristol Rovers will be bang up for this. I think everything almost lies on a decent cup run for them this season. Can't see them getting in the playoffs. But if we strip everything back and we take the emotion out of this, Norwich City should be going to Bristol Rovers and beating them. We should have beaten them at Carrow Road if we'd, if we were capable of such performances. But it just comes as a game that we really didn't need, sandwiched between two really tricky games. Away to Hull, yes, we won that one, and then at home to West Brom. If you were to beat West Brom at the weekend, then you really are in with a shout of the playoffs. So it just comes at a time that we don't really need a replay, as we mentioned going into that first game against them. a week or so ago. So there we go. Let me know on Johnny Rowe. Are you confident we keep hold of him in January? And what did you make of the comments from David Wagner around this transfer window being quiet in regard to incomings? Would you like to see people, new bodies come into this squad, or do you think we're good as we are? Let me know. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all again very soon. Bye-bye.